Hydatid disease. Introduction and pathology. Hydatid disease is caused by Echinococcus granulosus, commonly called the dog tapeworm. The disease is globally distributed and, while it is common in the tropics, it is much less common in other countries. For example, in the UK the occasional patient may come from a rural sheep farming community. The dog is the definitive host and is the commonest source of infection transmitted to the intermediate hosts, humans, sheep and cattle. In the dog, the adult worm reaches the small intestine and the eggs are passed in the feces. These eggs are highly resistant to extremes of temperature and may survive for long periods. In the dog's intestine, the cyst wall is digested, allowing the protoscolices to develop into adult worms. Close contact with an infected dog causes contamination by the oral route, with the ovum thus gaining entry into the human gastrointestinal tract. The cyst is characterized by three layers: an outer pericyst, which is derived from compressed host organ tissues, an intermediate hyaline ectocyst, which is non-infective, and an inner endocyst, which is the germinal membrane and contains viable parasites that can separate, forming daughter cysts. A variant of the disease occurs in colder climates caused by Echinococcus multilocularis, in which the cyst spreads from the outset by actual invasion rather than expansion. Classification. In 2003, the WHO Informal Working Group on Echinococcosis, WHOIWGE, proposed a standardized ultrasound. Classification based on the status of activity of the cyst, Table 6.1. This is universally accepted, particularly because it helps to decide on the appropriate management. Three groups have been recognized. Filled circle group 1, active group, cysts larger than 2 cm and often fertile. Filled circle group 2, transition group, cysts starting to degenerate and entering a transitional stage because of host resistance or treatment but may contain viable protoscolices. Filled circle group 3, inactive group, degenerated, partially or totally calcified cysts, unlikely to contain viable protoscolices. Clinical features. As the parasite can colonize virtually every organ in the body, the condition can be protean in its presentation. When a sheep farmer who is otherwise healthy complains of a gradually enlarging painful mass in the right upper quadrant with the physical findings of a liver swelling, a hydatid liver cyst should be considered. The liver is the organ most often affected. The lung is the next most common. The parasite can affect any organ, figure 6.10 and 6.11, or several organs in the same patient, figure 6.12. The disease may be asymptomatic and discovered coincidentally at postmortem or when an ultrasonography or CT scan is done for some other condition. Symptomatic disease presents with a swelling causing pressure effects. Thus, a hepatic lesion causes dull pain from stretching of the liver capsule, and a pulmonary lesion, if large enough, causes dyspnea. Daughter cysts may communicate with the biliary tree, causing obstructive jaundice and all the usual clinical features associated with it in addition to symptoms attributable to a parasitic infestation, figure 6.13. Features of raised intracranial pressure or unexplained headaches in a patient from a sheep-rearing community should raise the suspicion of a cerebral hydatid cyst. The patient may present as an emergency with severe abdominal pain following minor trauma, when the CT scan may be diagnostic, figure 6.14. Rarely, a patient may present as an emergency with features of anaphylactic shock without any obvious cause. Such a patient may subsequently cough up white material that contains scolices that have traveled into the tracheobronchial tree from rupture of a hepatic hydatid on the diaphragmatic surface of the liver. Classification of hepatic hydatid cyst. CL, cystic lesion. Anelocular anechoic cystic lesion without internal echoes or septations. CE, cystic echinococcosis, 1. Uniformly anechoic cyst with FNE internal echoes that represent protoscalysis after rupture of a vesicle, called hydatid sand. CE2. Cyst with internal septation representing the walls of the daughter cyst described as multivesicular, honeycomb, cartwheel or rosette formation. CE3. Transitional stage, description of daughter cyst. (3a) Daughter cysts with detached laminated membrane. 3b Daughter cysts inside a solid matrix. CE4. Inactive, degenerative. Daughter cysts can no longer be seen. Mixture of hypoechoic and hyperechoic features, like a bag of wool. CE5. Inactive, degenerative. Calcification of the wall, either partial or complete. Diagnosis: there should be a high index of suspicion. Investigations show a raised eosinophil count. Serological tests, such as ELISA and immunoelectrophoresis, point towards the diagnosis. Ultrasonography and CT scan are the investigations of choice. The CT scan shows a smooth space-occupying lesion with several septa. Ultrasonography of the biliary tract may show abnormality in the gallbladder and bile ducts, when hydatid infestation of the biliary system should be suspected. An MRCP may even show multiple cysts communicating with the biliary tree, figure 6.13. Ultimately, the diagnosis is made by a combination of good history and clinical examination supplemented by serology and imaging. Hydatid disease. Diagnosis: filled circle. In the UK, the usual sufferer is a sheep farmer. Filled circle. While any organ may be involved, the liver is by far the most commonly affected. Filled circle elective clinical presentation is usually in the form of a painful lump arising from the liver. Filled circle anaphylactic shock due to rupture of the hydatid cyst is the emergency presentation. Filled circle CT scan is the best imaging technique. The diagnostic feature is a space-occupying lesion with a smooth outline with septa. Treatment. Here, the treatment of hepatic hydatid is outlined because the liver is most commonly affected, but the same general principles apply whichever organ is involved. These patients should be treated in a tertiary unit where good teamwork between an expert hepatobiliary surgeon, an experienced physician and an interventional radiologist is available. Surgical treatment by minimal access therapy is best summarized by the mnemonic pair: puncture, aspiration, injection and respiration. This is done after adequate drug treatment with albendazole, although praziquantel has also been used, both of these drugs being available only on a named patient basis. Whether the patient is treated only medically or in combination with surgery will depend upon the clinical group, which gives an idea as to the activity of the disease, the number of cysts and their anatomical position. Radical total or partial paricystectomy with omentoplasty or hepatic segmentectomy, especially if the lesion is in a peripheral part of the liver, are some of the surgical options. During the operation, scolicidal agents are used, such as hypertonic saline, 15 to 20%, ethanol, 75 to 95%, or 5% povidone iodine, although some use a 10% solution. This may cause sclerosing cholangitis if biliary radicals are in communication with the cyst wall. A laparoscopic approach to these procedures is being tried. See next section, laparoscopic management. Obviously, cysts in other organs need to be treated in accordance with the actual anatomical site, along with the general principles described. An asymptomatic cyst that is inactive, group 3, may be left alone. Hydatid cyst of the liver. Treatment filled circle ideally managed in a tertiary unit by a multidisciplinary team of hepatobiliary surgeon, physician and interventional radiologist. Filled circle leave asymptomatic and inactive cysts alone, monitor size by ultrasonography. Filled circle active cysts should FRST be treated by a full course of albendazole. Filled circle several procedures are available, paricystectomy with omentoplasty and hepatic segmentectomy. Appropriate management is customized according to the particular patient and organ involved. Filled circle increasingly, a laparoscopic approach is being tried. Laparoscopic management. Currently, surgeons trained in minimal access surgery perform hydatid surgery using minimal access. Laparoscopic marsupialization of the cyst, deroofing, consisting of removal of the cyst containing the endocyst along with daughter cysts, is the most common procedure. In the initial steps, the cyst is aspirated, taking care not to spill any contents, using povidone iodine or hypertonic saline as a scolicidal agent. Any communication with the biliary tree is oversewn and pedicled omentum is sutured to the margins of the cyst. If the cyst is small and superficial, a cystoparicystectomy is performed at centers experienced enough to do more advanced surgery, removing the entire cyst intact. Pulmonary hydatid disease. The lung is the second commonest organ affected after the liver. The size of the cyst can vary from very small to a considerable size. The right lung and lower lobes are slightly more often involved. The cyst is usually single, although multiple cysts do occur and concomitant hydatid cysts in other organs, such as the liver, are not unknown. The condition may be silent and found incidentally. Symptomatic patients present with cough, expectoration, fever, chest pain and sometimes hemoptysis. Silent cysts may present as an emergency because of rupture or an allergic reaction. Uncomplicated cysts present as rounded or oval lesions. On chest radiography, erosion of the bronchioles results in air being introduced between the pericyst and the laminated membrane and gives a FNE radiolucent crescent, the meniscus, or crescent, sign, figure 6.15. This is often regarded as a sign of impending rupture. When the cyst ruptures, the crumpled collapsed endocyst floats like a lily on the residual fluid, giving rise to the water lily sign on CT scan, figure 6.16. Rupture into the pleural cavity results in pleural effusion. CT scan defines the pathology in greater detail. The mainstay of treatment of pulmonary hydatid is surgery. Medical treatment is less successful and considered when surgery is not possible because of poor general condition or diffuse disease affecting both lungs, or recurrent or ruptured cysts. The principle of surgery is to preserve as much viable lung tissue as possible. The exact procedure can vary: cystotomy, capitonage, paricystectomy, segmentectomy or occasionally pneumonectomy. Pulmonary hydatid disease. Filled circle. The second most common organ involved. Filled circle. Size of the cyst has a wide variation. Filled circle may present as an incidental offending. Filled circle clinical presentation may be elective or as an emergency because of rupture. Filled circle plain radiograph shows meniscus or crescent sign. CT shows water lily sign. Filled circle ideal treatment is surgical. Various choices are available. Computed tomographic scan showing the water lily sign arrow. While on a high-altitude trip, a young mountaineer complained of sudden shortness of breath, cough and copious expectoration consisting of clear fluid and fakey material. At FRST thought to be due to pulmonary edema, it turned out to be ruptured hydatid cyst, successfully treated by surgery. Hydatid cysts of the lung, one intact, solid arrow, one ruptured, hollow arrow, showing the lamellar membrane floating like a water lily, solid arrowhead. Computed tomographic (CT) scan of the upper abdomen showing a hypodense lesion of the left lobe of the liver. The periphery of the lesion shows a double edge. This is the lamellar membrane of the hydatid cyst that separated after trivial injury. The patient was a 14-year-old girl who developed a rash and pain in the upper abdomen after dancing. The rash settled down after a course of antihistamines. The CT scan was performed 2 weeks later for persisting upper abdominal pain.